Hi, I'm Ellen Gormley, and welcome to my channel.
We're working on flat circle theory today. So I'm making an adjustable ring or a magic ring or a slip ring. All of those terms are interchangeable, and you can find a video tutorial on how to do that on my, I think, the micro lessons playlist. I'm going to place 12 double crochets in the ring. You can begin your circle any way you like. This is my favorite method, but you can also do the other two methods that are in my playlist, and I'll try to link those in the description box below. So check out the micro lessons playlist for itty bitty different lessons that maybe you haven't known before. There's a bazillion ways to make everything, and you get to choose which method you like the best. So I'm going to start out with 12 double crochets in the ring. I need to stop and count. So let's see how many we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we'll count this one as 12. Now, also as a little side note, a micro lesson, we will call it right here. When you're asked to join a motif, join with a slip stitch. So it literally means go to the next stitch and join it with a slip stitch. So now the round is complete. So going back to your geometry class from high school or grade school or whenever, remember a circle is when you have a fixed point and then a line that is equidistant around that point makes the circle. So that means for us that we're going to place our increases equally around all sides. There are no sides of the circle. Place the increases equally distant around the edge. That means we're not placing all the increases on one side and then no increases over here. That would turn our circle into some kind of an oblong egg shape. So round 2, generally, follow your instructions in your pattern if you're making a circle, but round 2 generally is place 2 double crochets or 2 stitches in each stitch for round 2. I like to work over my tails. So for this double crochet circle, I am placing 2 double crochets in each double crochet of the previous round. So if we had 12 double crochets in the first round, we're going to have 24 in the second round. And then we will increase on every round so that the circle keeps increasing out from the center. If at some point we stopped increasing and worked evenly, that would create a bowl shape, and that's often the beginning of a hat. And what else do you want to know? So let's get done with this round here first, and I'll show you how you will know if you have too few stitches or too many stitches. Okay, so we're almost done with this round. I will want to count. When I'm making a flat circle, it's the few times where I absolutely will double check my count. When I'm making rows, I tend to just eyeball it, and I kind of know that I've not missed any stitches on the end. But with rounds, let's make sure and establish our pattern accurately before we move on. So here's where we are so far with rounds 1 and 2. We should remember have 24 stitches because we've doubled, increasing in every single stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, so we're there. Now round 3 generally is the same. So this is kind of the theory that if we were to, we're joining by the way, joining with a slip stitch. If we were to again double and do the same thing we did with round 2 and put 2 stitches in every stitch, we would jump from 24 stitches to 48, and that would be too many. And if we had too many stitches, it would begin to ruffle because they'd have to like squeeze to make room for each other like too many people at the dinner table. You know, you'd have to all squeeze together. But when you have the right number of people at the dinner table, everybody has plenty of room and it's nice and comfortable. But when there's too many people, you have to crowd together and your shoulders go up and you create a ruffle. So that's what happens here. Now, we know we're on the right track because if we fold our circle in half, look how flat our line is at the bottom. So it's a nice flat shape. Now, if it looked more like this at the bottom, where it cupped like the bottom of a boat, that would mean that we don't have enough stitches. And if it splayed like this, like a fortune cookie, then that would mean we had too many stitches. But because it's nice and flat when we fold it over, it means we have the same, we have the right amount of stitches. So round 3. I'll do maybe just 1 or 2 more rounds and then hopefully you'll have the theory. So the theory then is that we increase equally around. So last time we increased equally around by placing 12 increases, 1 in each stitch. Now we're still going to increase by 12 on this particular pattern, but we already have 24 stitches. So we're not going to increase in every stitch, but instead we're going to increase in every other. So I'm chaining 2 to call it my beginning double crochet. And I like to make chain 2 instead of 3 because I think it makes less of a gap. But however you choose to do it is fine, but I'm choosing to chain 2 and I'm counting that as a double crochet. I am not stitching in that same first stitch. So I will put 2 in the next one. Then we will create this pattern, 1 in the next stitch, 2 in the next stitch. Okay, 1, then 2. 1, then 2. Here's the 1, and let me show you a trick about this. So if you ever get confused about where you're at when you're increasing, for this round and for all subsequent rounds, let's take a closer look. You will place the increase in the second stitch of every increase. Okay, let me break that down for you. So here on round 2, in between my thumbs, we have an increase. There are 2 stitches in 1. We have increased. So I know that the first one of that group gets 1 stitch, but the second leg of the increase gets 2. Okay, so if we're like, oh, I'm gonna just pick, if I could just pick randomly on the side, okay, here's an increase, there's 2 of them in the same stitch. I know when I get to this point, there will be 1 here and 2 in the second leg, the second part of that team increase right there. I hope I'm making sense there. I know that's a little unclear. It hopefully will become clear on the next round. And we'll get through this round and do the next round, and then hopefully that will clear up any questions that you have about flat circles. Flat circles are so much fun, and they're the foundation for so much. You can make hats, you can make bags, the bottom of bags, you can make coasters, you can make dishcloths, you can make fun-shaped heating mat or dish mats. What do you call them? Hot pads if you're using cotton. Okay, don't do that with acrylic. Don't put hot pans on acrylic; it will melt. Okay, so 1 in the first stitch of an increase, 2 in the second stitch of an increase. I hope I made that clear. It's a little bit of a hard thing to describe. Give myself a little bit more yarn here. And while I am stitching this, I want to give a shout out to Linda L, M.A., and Renee J. And Kathleen C. All, thank you so much for being subscribers. Thank you for liking the channel, liking this video, turning on your notifications bell. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're stitching along. And at the end, remember, if we have placed 12, we've increased 12 times, equidistant from each other all the way around, then we should have how many? Remember last time we had 12, then we had 24, so this one should have 36. We've increased by 12 on this particular pattern. You also can do flat circles in single crochet, treble crochet, all of the other stitches, not just double crochet. Giving myself some yarn, it's getting a little tangled, so. Okay, here we go. So let's count, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and we counted this one as a stitch. So we're right on. And look how nice and flat that circle is. We can check our work by folding it over. It is nice and flat. The bottom edge is nice and flat. Not too many stitches, not too few. Okay, the last round here. So I'm joining in that first little chain 2 that I called a stitch. I'm chaining 2 because I'm going to stick with that method of chaining 2 and counting it as a double crochet. I need to stand a little bit more comfortably here, move my chair over. Okay, so round 4 then, remember if we are increasing by 12 each round, and it's time to increase by 12 again, we can't put all of our increases, 12 of them over here, then it would turn into some kind of weird egg shape, and then have 1 stitch for the rest, then this side would cup up and this side would ruffle. So they have to be flat. They have to be equally spread out like spokes of a wheel all the way around. So to do that, if you remember my theory from round 3, let me see if I can describe it better this time. Only the second stitch of each increase from the previous round will get an increase in it. So if I just randomly pick a side over here, okay, let's see. Here's a grouping where I had 1 in one stitch, then I had 2 in the next stitch. So here's where the increase was. So on this repeat, I'd have 1 stitch here, 1 stitch here, and 2 here. So the pattern is going to be 1, 1, 2. Now remember last time on the previous round, our pattern was 1, 2, 1, 2. This pattern, because we're spreading the increases out equally from each other, the pattern is 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So you're adding a 1, a singlet, before the increase. So then we can extrapolate that subsequent rounds, no matter how big we go, we are going to add 1 more single stitch and then increase only in the second leg of a pair of an increase from the previous round. Okay, you got it? Now at some point though, when this piece gets so big and we have divided this into 12, this is a multiple of 12, at some point our piece will get so big that it will become a 12-sided polygon, okay? Because at some point it is going, you're going to see more noticeably where the increases are, and they will sort of form kind of like points, sort of. Anyway, the point is that you will continue to increase in that method by adding a 1 single stitch before you get to the increase each round. So here we are at 1, 1 in one, 2 in the next one. And we'll repeat that all the way around so that these increases are equally spaced out. 1 in one stitch, 1 in one stitch, 2 in the next stitch. So at any point in the circle, you should be able to check your work and say, oh gosh, I can't remember. Am I in the right spot? If you look at the previous row and see that you have an increase, 2 stitches in one stitch, then the second half of that pair is where the new increase goes. So 2 stitches in the second half of that increase. Got it? So we will continue on. And remember, if we're adding 12 to every round, then you can do the math. So by the time we get to round, what are we on, 5? Let's see, we're on round 1, 2, 3, 4. So round 1 had 12, round 2 had 24, round 3 had 36, so round 4 should have 48, round 5 should have 60, round 6 should have 72, the next round will have 84. You get it? So we're increasing by 12 stitches, spread out, equidistant, across. Now, if we had messed up, or around rather, not across, but around. Now, if we had messed up and placed 2 double crochets or increased like way too many times, way too many times. So I'm just increasing like a mad woman here. I'm doing it wrong on purpose so that you can see, like I said, if you have a dinner table that seats 6 and you try and fit 10 people in there, then they all have to squish together and your shoulders hunch up because you're squishing, and so there's too many people at the table. And when you squish and you hunch your shoulders up like that, it's like a ruffle in fabric. Or conversely, if you have a table that seats 6, but there's only 3 people at it, then there's a really long gap. Now, for instance, if you're 3 people seated at the dinner table, and you try to hold hands when you pray before dinner, perhaps, then you have a really long reach, don't you? You have to reach pretty far in order to hold hands with all 3 people at this big size 6 table. So because of that, it'll pull the circle tight. So let's see, I'm increasing on purpose. So, but if you have 10 people seated at a 6-person table and you hold hands for grace before dinner, then you're all like squished together and your elbows are close to your belly and it pulls in tight. Okay, here's the point. Too many stitches. Okay, too many stitches. It's ruffling up because you have to hold your shoulders up because you're crowded. These stitches are crowded, so they are ruffling. So if we were to fold our circle in half, suddenly it goes past flat because there's too many stitches. Okay? If we had too few stitches, it would pull up like a bowl. So I am going to deliberately do too few stitches. I'm going to skip some. I should be increasing, but I'm not increasing at all. Matter of fact, I'm skipping some. Too few stitches, you can already see it pulling tight like a bowl or a hat. Okay, so here we go. Let's do one more. So if you do too few stitches, look how that pulled up like it wants to get closer together so they can reach around the table. There's too few stitches, so it curls up like a bowl. Okay, this is not a good circle, not a flat circle. So the point is, you can check your work and see if it's a flat circle, and if you're doing right on target with your gauge and with your number of stitches by double checking your work. If it starts to ruffle, there's too many stitches. If it starts to curl up like a bowl, there's too few. I hope you've enjoyed this in-depth introduction into how to make a flat circle. Once you've, by the way, maybe I'll do the math on another video, but this is a great way to start a hat. And once you get the circumference that you want, then go ahead and start working evenly down the sides of the hat so that it fits. Thanks. Please like and subscribe this video. Please turn on the notifications bell and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.